The following content is sponsored and does not necessarily reflect the views of WATD Radio. Now, Paul Ponders on 95.9 WATD. Be a part of the show. Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's your host, Paul Solano.
Welcome, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. My name is Paul Solano of PNS Marketing Group, and I wear another hat as General Manager of Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden. It's an absolute honor to be on WATD in the slot of The Boiling Point with Arthur Boyle. Arthur is busy doing some grandfather things right now, but I am pleased to have Arthur as the executive consultant of Paul Ponders on WATD. And also a quick shout out to Duncan from the Antique Show. On the way down, I was listening and I heard the song Jambalaya, Jambalaya on the Bayou by John Fogerty. And I think it was originally done by Hank Williams. And I thought, was it?
Yes.
Tim.
Yep.
Tim behind the glass. Welcome.
Good morning.
How
good
are
afternoon.
you?
Excuse me.
Good afternoon.
I'm doing well. Yes.
Absolutely. What a great song.
Yeah. I played that on Bob Parkus' show from time to time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, when you make it up to Pearl Street Station Restaurant for karaoke with Beth Foster, we're going to have to sing that song for karaoke.
Maybe. Yeah.
You never know. It lurks and it looms in the future, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But nice shout out to Duncan and also to Tom Williams, who's up in Maine today. He did the show from Maine. And as I mentioned, Arthur Boyle is home. But as Arthur once told me, it's not time to make the donuts. It's time to pay some bills. So let's hear from a few of our sponsors.
Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Manakesett Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision. Happy to work for you. Have you tried Bryantville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back. Thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. And if you want to call in, we're at 781-837-4900. And you could also download the Odyssey app if you haven't done so already. So please do that. And just pick up on that conversation about jambalaya on the Bayou. I thought of our chef back in Malden at Pearl Street Station Restaurant, Chef Felipe Fitzpatrick, who was listening. And he makes a great jambalaya. So maybe we'll have that on the menu pretty soon, where the jambalaya meets paella, and it's really an incredible dish. So take heed, Chef Felipe, if you're listening. I guess we're waiting for Joey from the neighborhood to call in, but we'll just talk some more about what Paul Ponders is all about. It's really been a great 4 weeks so far, and I really look forward to the next 13 weeks as we go into 2025. And I just wanted to invite everyone to just go to paulponders.com and just check out my various podcasts that I've dropped over the past year and a half or so, over 55 episodes. And please log in and review us, subscribe, and check us out. But I see on the line we have Joey from the neighborhood.
How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing well, Joey. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome, my friend. Well, I wanted to touch upon what we had talked about with the Extraordinary Muffins, but last week's comedy show, Boston Comedy Show, Pearl Street Station Restaurant, was absolutely fabulous, and you did a great job.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It was a good turnout, and we gave a couple of comedians a chance to get up there and do their thing, and that's really what we're trying to do. We're just trying to, give the people good entertainment, and that's it. It turned out to be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, Sean O'Brien Jr. is just getting stronger and stronger. He has a great routine. And Nolan Baker was really, really very good.
He's new.
Yeah,
he's new.
He's new.
He's got a really good disposition, but he's new, and he's going to get better and better. I could see it. It's kind of like a raw diamond in the rough. And I'm like, oh, this kid's got it. He's just got to kind of hone it and practice it more. But he was good, and they liked him.
I know it. Absolutely. So, Joey, we've been promising our listeners, you touched upon it last week during your show, but tell us about the Extraordinary Muffins, the cupcake story, please.
So the story is, so when I was 10 years old, I had to fight the toughest kid in the school. And back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, when you grew up in the city the way we did, fighting was kind of a rite of passage. That's how kids handled their problems a lot of times. And, it kind of was a metaphor for, being strong and for friendship. And I know that sounds kind of ironic, but it was kind of a metaphor for friendship, because it was, if you were willing to fight, then, you'd probably be a good friend, because you'd have my back, and that, it's that kind of a mindset, And boxing was a big thing back in those days, and so it was kind of like, kids use their hands, and if somebody messes with you, you learn how to fight. But I just never learned how to fight, and I had to fight the toughest kid in the school, and his name was Dickie, and to protect his identity, we'll call him Dickie Owens. So I had to fight this kid Dickie Owens, and he was a boxer. His father taught him how to box, and I didn't even know how to throw a punch. And so the thing was, I was definitely afraid of this kid, because I just didn't know. I'm like, we're going to get killed. This kid's just going to kill me. He's on a different level. And he was 2 years older than me on top of that. So he was supposed to be in 7th grade, and he was in 6th, and I was in 5th. And I was a skinny little chicken. And I had big ears and platinum blonde hair. And here's this kid. He's a roughhouser, and he's fighting everybody in town, and he's running roughshod over everybody. He wasn't huge, but he was a little bit bigger than me. But he was tough. I'm like, oh, man. So I'm walking through the kitchen one day, and my mother's baking cupcakes. She has an apron on. And my mother was probably about 44 at the time. She was 44 at the time, because she was 34 years older than me. And she saw me visibly shaking in fear. And she said, Joseph, what's the matter? I said, nothing. So they're going to fight the toughest kid in school tomorrow. I don't even know how to throw a punch. And she said, well, Joseph, I don't want you fighting. She said, but, I can't be with you 24/7. She says, if you must, just protect yourself and don't let them hurt you. She goes, you wrestling around with your brothers and sisters at home, right? I said, yeah. She said, well, then just, protect yourself. You're good at that. She goes, I don't know what to tell you. She goes, I can't be there to help you. And I said, well, Ma, this kid knows how to box. His father taught him how to box. So I can't even throw a punch. She saw how defeated I was, and she looked over at the cupcakes, and she looked at me. She said, Joe, do you know what cupcakes are? I said, what? And she said, muffins that believed in themselves.
Nice.
And I started to laugh, because it was very clever of her. And so I thought about what she said. She said, listen, believe in yourself. She said, you're capable of so much more than you think you are. And I went upstairs, and I thought about it, and I was laughing, and I wasn't afraid anymore. For some reason, my mother's encouragement and belief in me, I just wasn't afraid anymore for the first time. And so I went to school the next day. I woke up. I was fine. I wasn't afraid. I had confidence. I went to school. Everything was good. I didn't see him. After school, I could have ran home, and I didn't. I waited for him, because I knew in my mind, if I run today, if I go home, I said, tomorrow I'm going to be afraid again, and I don't want to be afraid anymore. So I figured I might as well fight the kid while I have a little bit of confidence. So I waited for him, and he come out of school, and he saw me, and he was with a couple of other kids, and I was by myself, and he said, Noon, he said, you think you could take me? I said, yeah, let's go. So I dropped my bag, I jumped off the wall, and we started fighting. He's hitting me with combination punches, left, right, uppercut. He's landing every punch with precision, and I'm throwing my best windmill punches like a girl. And I think I might have hit him on the top of his head twice. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? And so all of a sudden, after about a good minute, now a minute in a fist fight is like an hour. It goes by slow because you're exerting all your energy and all your love and all your passion, and it seems like a lifetime, but it's really only a minute. We just were throwing nonstop for like a whole minute until we both got exhausted, and finally he just walked away. And so I walked away. And that night I got a phone call from a kid, Derek, that is a friend of ours, and he called me up and he said, hey Joe, he says, Dickie respects you. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, after you walked away, he said, he came back and said, I hit the kid with everything I had, and he just wouldn't go down. He goes, he just kept coming. He goes, he wouldn't go down. He goes, nobody's ever not gone down. And I thought about it, and I said, geez, I never knew I could feel good about losing a fight. But I never would have known that had I not stood up and fought the toughest kid in the school, some kid who was supposed to kill me, and I stood up against him, and I didn't get killed. And so it was like, I felt so good about myself, and I thought about what I did right, if anything, and I thought, geez, I stood up against him. I showed great courage, and it didn't go down. And I went to bed that night feeling better than I had in the longest time because I finally believed in myself. And the next day, he came up to me, and he said, hey, Noon, you want to play street hockey today? And I said, sure. And we went and we played street hockey, and we became friends.
Wow.
And the moral of the story here is sometimes you got to believe in another person's belief in you until you can believe in yourself, and that was my mother. And I hope everybody out there has a mother or father, or had a mother or father that, believed in them enough, to help them believe in themselves until they could get to a point where they had self-belief, because self-belief is powerful, isn't it?
It really is. Well, Joey, I know you're on the speaking circuit and you speak to various youth groups, colleges, high schools, and other groups and all. And this is part of your story with what you tell, and also parlays into the book that you wrote, Good Things Are Supposed to Happen to You. And we have to get to the car guy who's on hold, and and next week let's pick up with this, and let's talk more about how you travel around the country, not only performing as the man with many voices, but also adding so much inspiration and hope for everyone out there. I
speak at schools. I speak at high schools, middle schools, and colleges, because the story really goes to the heart of self-belief, which, again, is metaphorically for believing in yourself in every aspect of life. I mean, it's sometimes you gotta just latch on to that one person, find somebody that you look up to, look into, that believes in you and sees the best in you, even when you don't see it in yourself, until you get to a point where you can. And that's such a powerful statement, isn't it, right?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Paul, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate you letting me come on and tell the story. And
absolutely, it's a great story.
Anybody out there that's listening that would like me to come and speak at their school, just they can contact you, or they can contact me at joeyvoices.com and just tell me where you heard the story, and we can set up a time, and I could come speak to one of your forums or assemblies or something like your school.
That's awesome. That's the way to do it, just to tell the story, and for our listeners out there in WATD land.
Question and answer.
Absolutely.
I also do question and answer at the end, so kind of, I build the story up from the beginning, and I talk about my background a little bit, where I came from, and the kind of the shadows of my brothers and sisters and my father, who cast a huge shadow over me as a kid, and it was kind of bred insecurity in me, and that's where it all came from. But it's a really good backstory, and then it leads into the cupcake story. So, and then I take question and answers at the end. So, thanks again, Paul. I really appreciate you. You have a wonderful day.
You as well. Happy New Year, brother. Take care and be well. Thank you.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you. Tim, why don't we go to our commercials, and then we'll Mark Gabelhard, the car guy. Please stay on hold. We'll have you on for a few minutes. Thank you. And here is the message from our sponsors.
Have you tried Brianville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Briantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Briantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Briantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857. Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Manakesett Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision, happy to work for you.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
Well, thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. And on the line, we welcome back Mark Abelhart, the car guy. Mark.
Yes.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I am doing well, thank you. I know I've been on, when I was on the Boiling Point calling in on Arthur's show, I would often be listening online while you and Arthur were talking, and I was just truly, truly amazed at how knowledgeable you are and how forthright and honest you are. So it's really great to have you on the Paul Ponders podcast.
Well, thank you very much. You know, I will tell you that my mom and dad, you know, I was just listening to your prior guest, and he was talking about how his mother had such a huge impact on his life. And both my mom and dad, you know, taught us that it was easier to tell the truth. You didn't have to look over your shoulder and all the time. And my father always used to say, in order to be a great liar, you have to have a really good memory. And I have a good memory, but not a great memory, you know. Sure. So I've always found it's just simpler to answer the questions. And, you know, unfortunately, one of the things that I think we find out in today's world, everybody wants transparency, which I think is great. But when you give them that transparent answer, they always don't like it. And, you know, I guess so sometimes you're kind of, you know, stuck in the middle there trying to figure out, you don't want to just tell people what they want to hear because that's a lie. But you also want to be truthful and informative so that, you know, I think when somebody is looking to pick up their new car and there's an issue with fixing something, there's an issue with the insurance, there's an issue with the bank, you know, there's a lot of different moving parts, you know, so that, like, for instance, we have one car that a customer wants to pick up. The body guy couldn't get in here today to fix something on the car, so that holds up a couple of days, you know. And so there's moving parts, I guess is what I'm saying. And so, you know, we try to keep those moving parts moving forward, and I think it's always important to just make sure that the customer understands, you know, what's going on, so they don't. I think a lot of times when they don't hear anything, I think, Paul, that's when the problems develop. You know, it's like, why am I not hearing anything? You know, what's going on? So, but yes, you know, we're over here in Raynham, Massachusetts. We're having one of those, you know, rainy days that when I left Duxbury this morning, it was the same over there as it is here.
Right, exactly.
And, you know, I just thought, you know, I was listening, you know, to your guest and, you know, the cupcake story. And it just is reminded me so much of, you know, my best friend, who I started being best friends with in junior high. We became best friends because we fought. And I think we literally came to the same conclusion. We couldn't knock the other one down. And so I think we said, okay, you know, that's a good person to have for a friend, you know. And it's kind of interesting to listen to what he was saying because so true in my growing up. I grew up in Medfield, you know, small town, and you know, my friend, his name was the same as mine. He was a Mark, I was a Mark, and his last name was Wills, and his uncle, you know, owned the hardware store in town. And so we always had immediate jobs. You know, every time in the springtime, you know, the trailer would pull in with all the bags of fertilizer and would park the trailer there, and we would unload the trailer, and then in the fall, another trailer would come in, and that would have all of the snow blowers on it, and bags of salt. And we would, put those snow blowers together, and we would take those bags of salt and store them. And then, as it came into the summer again, you had the fertilizer, you had the lawnmowers, and it was a wonderful, wonderful old store. It had those creaky floors, those wooden floors that when you walked, they creaked. And my father, who was not all that handy, I think I got my unhandiness from him. But when my mother would have my father fix something in the house, my father would go down to the hardware store, and he would have this piece in his hand, like a valve or something like that, I remember, like for a sink or for a faucet.
Mm-hmm.
And he would walk in, and there would be Mr. Wills, and he would go, "Hello, Jim." And my father would go, "Hello, Arthur." And my father would hold out his hand, and he would say, "This is what I need." And Mr. Wills would go, and in a box on a shelf upstairs or whatever, would find it, come down with it. My father would get it. I remember I walked into one of these home improvement stores one time with a piece in my hand and stood there and showed it to the person, and they went, "Yeah, we don't sell them. You can buy the whole faucet here, right over here, to the Delta display or whatever it was. You can buy the whole faucet, but as far as that piece, I have no idea what it is, and I have no idea where I'm going to find it." So that's kind of some of the things that is growing up in a family with 5 brothers and sisters and in a small town. Some of the things that we learned. And I find, a lot of the principles that we, live with today, honesty, dependability. And I think the other thing that's really so important is the respecting of people and the respecting of people's time. If you say that you're going to be there, okay?
Mm.
If you can't be there, then call and tell them you can't be there, all right? So that the time opens up, for somebody else. And so, I just think in today's world that with all the, electronics and, I was watching, as my grandsons were over on Christmas Eve and, watching them open their presents. And, the youngest one, who's 11, got himself a cell phone for Christmas. And I said something to my daughter. And I said, "He's 11 years old, honey. He doesn't need a cell phone." She goes, "Well, Dad, yes, he does." And I said, "Okay, well, I hope you got the best plan on it so that, the insurance part of it, so that, if he loses it or if it, falls into a sink full of water or something like that, that you'll be okay." And I was just so impressed with, watching him. And when he got this phone and he opens up this phone and he did so many things with it, and I'm sitting there going, "Wow, I wish I could do those things." I really do. But, he's got good courtesy, he's got good respect, and he's a good student. And, I think that, the fact that everything's so instantaneous on cell phones today, that we learn. I was sitting with a customer the other day, Paul, and we were talking. And I said, "Isn't it something?" Because I had gone to the bank, and I'm standing in line at the bank, and everybody is on their cell phones. And I was just standing there, and I'm looking around, and I somebody's standing next to me, and I go, "What do you think about those Red Sox?" And it was like, and I'm not a big Red Sox guy, but I'm just figuring, if you're going to start a conversation, that's probably a good place to start because everybody has an opinion,
Right. Right.
And so the person was looking at me like, yeah, and so I just thought it was kind of interesting. And it didn't matter the age group, it seemed to be, if it was somebody, that was older like myself or somebody younger, everybody seemed to be about the same. So,
Right.
I just, I think it's, the common courtesies that you and I and our parents have taught us are something that is, just so vitally important in going through the world today. Opening the door for somebody.
Right.
things like that.
Well, Mark, this is all part of the Paul Ponders world, and in future episodes we're going to be talking about what I chime in on about time, TIME, things I must experience. So in future weeks we're going to be talking more about this, but we are so like-minded and all, and I truly appreciate you expressing those words of wisdom, and also the kind words about Joey Voices, Joey Noon, our previous guest, and all. But I wanted to pick up the line. We have someone who is calling in from New York, I guess. But Mark, I want to wish you a happy New Year. And where is the Car Guy located again?
We're located at 38 Broadway, which is Route 138 in beautiful Raynham, Massachusetts.
Absolutely. And what's your phone number for anyone who is looking for a last-minute deal to close out the year?
Absolutely. The Car Guy hotline is 781-635-2264, the same number that it's been since we started in 2006.
If we act now, do we get the free Ginsu knife?
Absolutely. You get 2 sets of Ginsu knives.
All righty. But wait, there's more. Mark, have a great one now.
All right.
We'll chat next week. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, and be well. We'll talk soon. And thank you so much. And
Call in the next 20 minutes. No.
There we go, 19 minutes.
For not only $19.95.
Yes.
I just wanted to go to the text line real quick. A few minutes ago, Duncan heard you give the shout-out. He wanted to say thank you. Thank you for the shout-out, Paul.
Well, you're quite welcome, Duncan. I really enjoy listening to you and look forward to meeting you, and keep up the great work with what you're doing. Absolutely. So on the line, we have the Pod Pro Entertainment Techie Toolbox segment, not with Techie Chalonzo Amos, who's on sabbatical doing his basketball thing, but we have Shelley Wolf, global media firm owner of Toolbox Entertainment, and a past Paul Ponders guest. Shelley.
Hey, Paul. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. You're calling from New York City?
I actually am back in Philly this morning, so I'm back in Philadelphia today.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, thanks for waiting and all, and I look forward to working with you on this segment, this Pod Pro Entertainment Techie Toolbox segment. But do you have any special tips for us this week regarding technology?
Yeah, well, first, Paul, I just want to give a shout-out to WATD and to you for inviting me to be on this program today. And, of course, Pod Pro, as you said, Techie Chalonzo's out there supporting those youth in the basketball world. So, but we're going to jump into our tech segment today, and we are going to talk about keys to our digital kingdom, right? We're going to talk about what it's like to focus and look at our online safety account, on our online accounts, and talk about some tips of securing our passwords, right?
Ooh.
So many times we, people give out our passwords. We don't realize it, right? And you have to ask yourself, would you hand out your house keys to a stranger? Or would you write your ATM PIN on the back of a piece of paper and hand it to somebody? No way, right? I mean, so we need to think of our passwords as keys to our digital life. Our bank accounts, our emails, or even our photos. So I just wanted to give some quick tips and get people thinking about how they can stay safe in this online world. It's very easy to become vulnerable, and it happens to all of us at some point. So, there's no shame in it happening. We just want to make sure that people are protecting themselves as much as possible. I find I'm always shocked at how many times I see people giving out social media information or their personal information, like, hey, here's my phone number or here's my address on social media. Please be careful. I was a victim once of identity theft myself, and it took me 2 years to clear my name. And I think people need to remember that, once someone has your passwords and information, it's a domino effect. So, let's talk about some of the problems. And that is tip 1, do not write the word password in your email or text when you send it. Either call someone, share that in person. But, so many times that word is searched by hackers, password, and people's passwords are automatically compromised through their email easily. And I see tech people do it all the time. So I'm like, okay, you should know this. So like I said, it doesn't matter who you are, how tech savvy you are. I see these problems all across the board. The other thing is when it comes to social media accounts, they ask you to click through. So hey, do you want to combine this account with that account? Never do that. Because when you are doing that, you are connecting those accounts, making you much more vulnerable. And when that happens, you have now attached your passwords to multiple accounts that have much more room for vulnerabilities and companies being breached, which means that all your information's out there. So again, and the reality is companies don't have they have a responsibility to let you know that they've been hacked, but they can wait up to 60 days for that. So very, very important to make sure that you're saving your passwords and protecting your passwords. Remember, again, all social media sites are collecting your information. That includes images. So be very, very, very careful. When we're thinking about passwords, so many people use pets' names, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, your birth date. Those are common things. People, if they have any information about you, they can easily begin to start hacking you. So, think about different things that are going to not necessarily be obvious. Everyone talks about the long passwords or whatever, but, maybe it's a popular song that you love to sing. Like, figure out how to transpose that password using the symbols and words. I think the other area that we really want to focus on is thinking about, that was brought up last week, is, how do we respond to emails and making sure, they're cloning emails out there. So when you get those calls or those emails that said, hey, did you log into your account? Did you have trouble logging into your account? You may not remember. Don't respond to those emails. They're just searching. So, so quick, strong solutions are, again, think about a song, or think about, a favorite quote that you love and how you can make that into a password and change that. Something that's not so obvious in your life for other people to jump into and hackers to try to find. And again, never share your emails or passwords via email or text messages. And if you do feel the need to do it, share it separately. People know, you have your username first or your email first, and then use the password. So be smart about how you're sharing that information. Even if you put P-12345, they still know that that's a password, right? So they know how to search that. There's a lot of recommendations about using password managers. That's a lot of work for people. But what I will say, and I've never been a fan of the two-factor authentication, but I will say it does work. It is really important, because I can say, oh, I just got a text, and guess what? I was not trying to log into that account.
Me.
So I know someone's trying to hack into there.
Absolutely. So for our listeners in the WATD world and all, we have many more segments for you to just really touch upon so many great topics of discussion. But this has been so helpful. I actually learned something about the overlapping of the passwords and all. So that was a major oops on my part. But anyway, Shelley, I want to thank you for being on the segment, and look forward to future weeks.
Thanks. I look forward to coming back and giving some more tech tips.
I look forward to it as well. So this is Shelley Wolf, global media firm owner of Toolbox Entertainment, calling in from Philly.
Yes, and you can reach us at info@PodPro Entertainment. And again, thank you, Paul, for having us. And a reminder to just keep your digital life secure and stress-free.
Hashtag indeed. Shelley, Happy New Year, too. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, next up, we have the Uplift Provisions Nonprofit Corner of the Week. Uplift Provisions Company of Stoneham is keenly focused on giving back to the individuals and communities that support them and others on a daily basis. President and founder Rocco Donnelly is proud to partner with the Family Restored, a nonprofit organization dedicated to strengthening and supporting families affected by addiction. This week, we welcome back Bob Hilberg, Executive Director of GothamWhale.org, not only to plug an upcoming event, but also to talk about the recent beaching of a humpback whale in Hummerock on this past Thursday, as reported by ATD's Dave Cedrone. Bob Hilberg, welcome.
Yeah, glad to be here. It's kind of sad news that we've had 6 whales breach and end up being stranded on the beaches. They're majestic animals when they breach, but they're sad to see when they end up in Scituate and Plymouth and Marshfield and 6 different places along the East Coast since July. So, they're just majestic creatures, and we're doing what we can at Gotham Whale to kind of bring awareness to the beauty and the tranquility that they bring to our world.
Absolutely. And full disclosure, I am on the board of Gotham Whale, and it's a great organization really dedicated to citizen science and the advocacy of the whale. So if you just want to give out some information about Gotham Whale, a quick shout out as we start to wind down in the next couple of minutes. What do you have on Gotham Whale?
Yeah, so Gotham Whale is really all about bringing awareness and impact to the world and their environment. Our website is gothamwhale.org, gothamwhale.org, and we're doing a local fundraiser up here in Malden at the Pearl Street Restaurant, a pre jazzing in the New Year party on the 30th, Monday night. The night before New Year's Eve. So 7 to 10, come on by. You can get your tickets on Eventbrite. The Jazzin' in the New Year at the Pearl Street Restaurant from 7 to 10, Monday night the 30th. You'll meet some of our team of Gotham Whale, the passionate volunteers that really devote a lot of time and energy to making this world a better place for the whales and certainly for humans as well, with the tranquility that they bring to our world.
Absolutely. Scott Albertson is listening on the Odyssey app. He's down in Connecticut or New York today. And Scott Albertson from Project142.org, and also John Babowen, who is professor of music over at Berkeley School of Music, Berkeley College Music, will be performing. And they really just do a great job. Should be a great show.
Oh, it'd be fun. They're a blast. They've done some events with us already. We got a great crowd, and they just engage the audience, and it's just so much fun. You're moving and grooving, and you're supporting a great cause, and certainly there's a meal included and all that stuff. The fantastic food that you get for the Pearl Street Restaurant in Malden. You got to enjoy that and come on by. If you haven't been there for a while, this is the time to come. And if you've been there all the time, we need to see you again Monday night.
Without a doubt. And also, too, I was hoping that Matt from Pembroke would be listening, but he's actually traveling right now. But hopefully he's listening on the Odyssey app. So I plan on having you back on this nonprofit corner of the week with Matt, maybe as we get closer to April, with April 24th as Humpback Whale Day in Massachusetts.
Absolutely. So the whole idea is to be Gotham, be big, be supportive, be encouraging, help other people, serve others. This is a great way to end the year, being Gotham and joining some of us at Gotham Whale at the Pearl Street Restaurant in Malden, Monday night, December 30th, 7 to 10.
Bob Hilberg, I thank you for being on, and I wish you a happy new year, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Absolutely.
Be well, my friend. Thank you.
Be well.
Thank you. Indeed. Hashtag indeed. Well, I want you to stay tuned to WATD for the Memories with Ron Dwyer, the grand poobah of oldies rock and roll. You can subscribe to Paul Ponders on Spotify and YouTube or other streaming outlets. Please subscribe and give us some likes. Thanks again to Tim, Arthur Boyle, and our advertisers. But really, thank you, listeners in WATD world and beyond. Keep Paul pondering. Happy New Year. Hashtag indeed.